Hi. I will start with the framework of structure. This investigation and accountability analysis, entitled The Accountability Audits, takes an in-depth look at the structural system of corporate accountability of 7-Eleven Malaysia. We define corporate accountability as the objective standards of checks, balances, and ethical controls required by Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance, or MCCG. Our objective is to quantify this difference between these desired outcomes and actual practice. Our first identified crack is a lack of vision. MCCG Practice 5.2 requires large companies to have a majority of independent directors in order to have objective oversight and reduce the power of major shareholders. Currently, there are 7-Eleven Malaysia with only 3 independent directors. This deviation poses a serious threat of board capture, in which minority shareholders' interests are not guaranteed a majority that is independent of the majority. The second structural failure has to do with cognitive diversity. While MCCG Practice 5.9 suggests a minimum of 30% female representation to reduce groupthink, 7-Eleven is at 25%. The justifications of the company puts forward skills and experience over gender targets. However, this limited view creates a strategic blind spot, limiting the capacity of the board to question the changing trends of demands of consumer and the ESG. Furthermore, we see a real overvalue with regards to transparency. By not reporting senior management remuneration on a name and address basis, a breach of MCCG Practice 8.2, the company leaves an accountability gap in which shareholders cannot ensure valid pay for performance claims. This is compounded by an echo chamber effect, in which evaluations of the boards are carried out internally, as opposed to through the external third-party validation recommended in Practice 6.1. This is a methodological flaw that enables self-serving bias to disguise defects in the board culture. In conclusion, these 4 interconnected failures, which is lack of independence, lack of diversity, lack of transparency, and lack of validation, create a systemic accountability vacuum. These are not just procedural missteps in the process, but leading indicators of potential strategic failure. The continued disconnect between the stated policies and real practices of 7-Eleven is a tangible threat to long-term value creation and stakeholder trust. The foundation is quite literally taken away.
For my part, I'm evaluating 7-Eleven Malaysia's risk response during the 2024 financial year. We faced a dual-layered crisis that tested our entire governance structure. We had operational risk, specifically teething issues with our new distribution center that caused inventory mismanagement and high costs. Second, we faced a strategic risk in the form of massive social boycotts linked to geopolitical sensitivities. This didn't just affect our sales, it threatened our brand's standing in the retail market. To manage this risk, we took 2 distinct paths. On the operational side, our risk management committee used a business continuity framework to stabilize the supply chain. While the logistical bottlenecks initially hurt us, these technical corrections allowed us to stabilize our cost structure by the end of the year. On the strategic side, we shifted our business model. We accelerated the rollout of the 7-cafe format, reaching 536 outlets. This was a risk reduction move, moving us toward high-margin fresh food, which is less vulnerable to boycotts than traditional items. We also practiced risk acceptance. We knew sales growth would drop during peak social tensions, so we offset this by cutting 35.6 million ringgit in operating expenses in Q4, focusing on labor efficiency and reduced media spending. Was it productive? Absolutely. Despite a temporary 11% dip in profit forecast early in the year, we saw a 7.4% revenue increase in the convenience segment by the fourth quarter. Beyond the numbers, the impact was threefold, which is financial, legal, and reputational. In conclusion, 2024 revealed our weaknesses, but our risk management transformed us into a more diversified and resilient company.
This presents the application of ADL metrics, also known as the Strategic Business Unit Model, which compare governance maturity with the level of the accountability. Based on the metric, SCM position at the established governance maturity level because it already has the key governance mechanism in place, such as internal audit process, board community, and formal governance characters expected of a leased company. However, SCM level of accountability is set between tenable and weak. This mainly due of weakness in board structure, particularly the lack of sufficient independent director and limited transparency in executive compensation. According to ADL metrics, an organizational at established maturity level with weak accountability faces the risk strategy drift or board capture. Therefore, the recommended strategy is to liquidate inefficient governance process, maintain existing strength, and build missing governance competency. In conclusion, SCM require to protective build strategy that strengthens board independence and transparency so that governance become a strategic advantage rather than just a compliance requirement.
For the next slide, to strengthen 7-Eleven's corporate resilience, we've shifted from a reactive stance to a proactive governance model based on a rigorous gap analysis against the Malaysian Court on Corporate Governance. Our first priority is eliminating board capture. We are mandating that at least 50% of the board consists of independent directors. This structural shift ensures management is held accountable by unbiased voices, with success monitored through the frequency of formal concerns raised in meetings. Secondly, we are moving beyond basic diversity quotas. While we aim for 30% female representations, our focus is on cognitive accountability. We're recruiting a brain trust with specific expertise in ESG and digital transformations to better predict shifting consumer sentiments. Finally, we are closing the transparency vacuum. We are now disclosing executive salaries in bands and crucially linking variable pay to long-term metrics like ROE and Net Promoter Scores. This aligns leadership rewards directly with long-term shareholder value. Through these measures, the board evolves from a passive recipient of info into an active defender of the group's future. While our corporate strategy manages the brain, our SBU level responses target the limbs, the operational units where threats become visible. We focus on 4 key areas to ensure operational resilience. First, to combat brand erosions from out-of-stock issues, we are investing in AI-driven predictive inventory management. By tracking real-time out-of-stock rates, the chief retail officer can fix supply chain gaps before shelves go bare. For our high-growth 7KV segment, we are instituting unannounced monthly external audits. This moves beyond internal checks to provide impartial validations of food safety, allowing the head of F&B to act before a local issue becomes a national crisis. Finally, we've created a dedicated audit protocol for our pharmacy segment and a transparent incentive structure for store managers. By monitoring staff turnover and satisfaction, we ensure high moral and strict regulatory compliance at the store level. These proactive measures ensure that 7-Eleven's daily operations remain as resilient as our corporate governance. Thank you.
Following 7-Eleven's 2024 crisis, we propose an integrated risk intelligence framework, a proactive system to ensure risks are monitored, controlled, and reported before they escalate. This framework is built on 3 pillars, which is monitor, control, and report. It moves 7-Eleven away from reactive firefighting towards embedded resilience. It directly addresses the governance failure we identified in Section 2.1, lack of board independence, transparency gap, and weak external validations. The monitor pillar uses key risk indicators at both corporate and store levels. For example, tracking the percentage of independent directors, out of stock rates, and social media sentiment. The control pillar introduced external validation, like third-party board evaluations and unannounced food safety audits, to eliminate the self-assessment bias noted in 2.1.4. The report pillar establishes a clear review rhythm, weekly operational checks, monthly management reviews, quarterly board oversight, and an annual public risk report. This ensures that accountability flows upward and stakeholders are informed transparently. Through this, the outcome will be that IRIF closes the governance gap, strengthens 7-Eleven risk response, and builds a culture of proactive vigilance. This is how 7-Eleven can protect its reputation, ensure compliances, and secure long-term growth. 7-Eleven's governance gap left it exposed when crisis hits. Their recovery efforts worked but were reactive. Going forward, they must adopt a proactive governance, a more independent board, pay tied to long-term performance, and smarter risk monitoring. Ultimately, good governance isn't just about checking boxes, it's about building a culture that prevents crises before they start. Thank you.